Good morning. This is the Board of County Commissioners agenda setting work session. It is Tuesday, December 13th, 2022. It is 9:31 a.m. This session is set to go until 11:30 today. This is a hybrid meeting. We're in Building 1, Room 280. For public virtual attendance, you may follow along on the Thurston County YouTube channel. I'm Carolina Mejia. I'm the chair of the board. To my right is Vice Chair Ty Menser. To my left is Commissioner Gary Edwards. Also in the boardroom is County Manager Ramiro Chavez, and as well as other staff members joining us here in the boardroom as well as via Zoom. We'll start to our agenda today with our standing topic, which is homeless strategies. And I see Keely Marino. Keely, take it away.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. Keely Marino with Public Health and Social Services with a brief update for you today. One, good news, Catholic Community Services, who was awarded the Housing and Essential Needs contract back in October, is up and running. Rent checks for December went out, and they are establishing a physical office here in Thurston County. They've staffed up, they're rolling along. We're still meeting with them to support them through the transition about twice weekly to just case consult and work together to make sure that we can streamline the process and that the final, hopefully, transition of the HEN program. So that's a good update. And lastly, this is our last Regional Housing Council meeting for 2022 this week on Wednesday from 4 to 6 p.m. It is the only Regional Housing Council meeting of in December, and it will be a longer one, so it will be from 4 to 6 p.m. We will be accepting public comment. You can register for the meeting and public comment if you go to the Regional Housing Council website, which is, if you just Google Thurston County Regional Housing Council, you'll land right there on the page. You'll be able to register pretty easily. At that meeting, we will also be discussing a suggested pilot project between Olympia Mutual Aid Partners and Olympic Regional Clean Air Agency to look at how we can mitigate the issue of fires in encampments and how to reduce those. So we're looking forward to hearing from both Olympia Mutual Aid Partners and the Olympic Regional Clean Air Agency on updates for that. So we'll hopefully be deciding on if that's a pilot project we would like to support. If so, you'll be hearing more about it, I am sure, in the coming year. And other than that, that's my update for today, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions, thank you.
Questions, Commissioner Menser?
No questions.
Keely, I have a couple questions. First, did the Olympia Fire Chief, is he going to be running the meeting for the Regional Housing Council?
Pardon me. No, I have not heard from him as of yet, but I will reach out again through email and see if I can get a response.
Thank you. And then my next question is, I saw an email go out from United Way about the point in time count, and they were gathering volunteers. So I was hoping you could tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure. United Way offered to support the point in time count annual homeless census in 2023, which will happen on the 26th of January, and then the subsequent 6 days. They offered to help support the process by recruiting for volunteers. And at this point, I believe they have about 158 to 160 interested residents of Thurston County who would like to volunteer. So we anticipate getting more interest and dispersing volunteers throughout the county during that week for point in time. So very grateful for their efforts. And it's been really successful, sounds like.
Thank you, Keely. And then I just wanted to give a big thank you to you, Keely, as well as Tom and Jacinda, for all of everything you've done. It's been kind of a crazy year, especially and there's been a lot of times where you all have had to pivot, and just hearing that the Catholic Community Services have, let out their checks and families are getting that support, it's just great to hear. So I just really want to thank you all for all the hard work that you've done really to support our community.
Thank you so much.
Okay, with that, I will move on. Thank you, Keely. to the review of the Board of County Commissioners draft agenda for our meeting of December 13th, 2022. And I just want to let the public know that this is our last Board of County Commissioners meeting for this year. Our next meeting is scheduled for January 10th, and it will be a regular 2 p.m. meeting. So,
And that will be in the new location.
and it will be in the new location. Thank you so much. So we will be at 3000 Pacific Avenue on the first floor,
Room 101,
room 101.
110,
Oh,
110.
room 110.
It's less
You won't
than-
be able to miss it.
Yeah. 110.
So for our December 13th agenda, we'll call the meeting to order at 2 p.m. The Pledge of Allegiance to be led by Commissioner Edwards and the approval of the Tuesday, December 13th, 2022 agenda. We don't have any presentations scheduled, so there will be an opportunity for the public to address the board and county manager's update.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. As I mentioned last week, I will be providing a brief overview, a year-end review. And this year-end review will include high-level accomplishments the board has done over the last year. It may not include all the accomplishment by the offices, but my intent is for next year to incorporate the offices' accomplishments wherever we move along. This is something that I wanted to do for the last couple of years, and I have some items that I will highlight to you. The draft list that I have seen, it's a lot that you have done, and the county and the staff has done. So, looking forward to that this afternoon.
Thank you. Any questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions, thank you.
Commissioner Menzer?
No.
Okay. I don't have any questions either. We have several consent items A through K. We'll start off with item 3A, 3B, because they are approval of the voucher list for the week of October 31st and November 14th.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. The voucher list for the week of October 31st is for $3,029,024.50. And for the week of November 14th, which is item 3B, is $2,653,487.05. Both items are in the consent agenda because we do not have any atrium-related expenditures.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner?
No questions, thank you.
Questions, Commissioner Menzel? Okay, moving on to item 3C from the,
I'm curious why these are coming so late. One from October 31st.
We didn't have meetings,
Oh, that's, yes.
so we're catching up with.
Okay.
We didn't have board meetings in the last
Thank you.
3 weeks
It was
almost.
just odd that they're coming so late.
Yeah, we went to the, November 6th was canceled.
Yeah.
And then we had the conference on WhatsApp conference that was canceled, and then the budget hearings. So,
That's exactly right. Thank you.
Catching up.
Thank you for reminding me of all of that.
okay. Item 3C is from the Commissioner's Office, reappointment to the Agritourism Advisory Committee.
yeah, the following up the board's direction is for your considerations to reappoint Mr. Rudy Dunlich to the Agritourism Advisory Committee from a one-year term, which right now expires on December 13, 2023.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions.
Questions, Commissioner Menzer?
Is that a normal that the term's 1 year?
I think, because I think it became a vacancy in the current, and then they will have to apply again.
I
with
But-
next-
I question that, yeah.
Yeah.
He's been on there quite a while.
This was a reappointment, wasn't it?
It is a reappointment, and if I remember correctly, I can pull the page up real quick. This one in particular has one-year terms on it, so they should be reapplying after a year.
Oh. Okay. That's,
Is that the way we've normally been doing this, committee? I don't recall that.
I don't either, because it's a big committee and it
Yeah.
feels like we'd be seeing them all the time.
Yeah.
So the terms of office that I've got that's been provided by the staff contact says 12 months from the date of appointment. So it should be a one-year appointment and then reapplying after that.
Any chance you could check on that? Because I just wonder, staff could have made a mistake.
Yeah, definitely, I can reach out and check on it.
let's go ahead and move with the 1 year for now, and then if it needs to come in
Okay.
for a correction, that way, Mr. Rutledge can start his term without having this huge, pause until January 10th.
Yep.
So
Yep.
if between now and January 10th, we hear back from staff and, you know, there's a bigger extension, we can amend this action, is that correct? Is there any, is that okay with commissioners?
Sure, yep.
That way, at least the position is filled. Okay, item D from the commissioners, reaffirm to the Timberland Regional Library Board of Trustees.
Yeah, thank you for your considerations to reaffirm the appointment of Mr. Brian Zylstra to the Timberland Regional Library Board of Trustees. This is for a 7-year term with the term expiring on December 31st, 2029.
Okay, questions, Commissioner Edwards?
I guess, I don't have any questions per se, just, it's odd that spread, you know, from 1 term, 1 year to 7 years, you know. Where's that all make sense?
Yeah.
That board in particular does have really long-term lengths. They are 7-year service terms for that, for the TRL one. So even I double checked it because I thought it was a really long-term length, but that one is 7.
Okay.
Commissioner Edwards? Okay, Commissioner Menser, sorry. I looked at Commissioner Menser and then I.
This is the Lewis County representative, if I remember right.
Yes, that's what I believe, and this is to reaffirm that appointment.
Okay. Moving on to item E, District Court interlocal agreements for District Court services.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You reviewed this item last week, and as the board is aware, District Court provide services for court filings and jury trials to the cities of Tumwater, Lacey, Young, and Rainier. Those current contracts ends on December 31st, 2022. And Frankie and I have reached out to the different jurisdictions, and they are in agreement to extend those services with a small change on the fees as any other contract is needed to cover the current costs. So for your proposal, for your considerations to approve the agreements between the county and the cities of Tumwater, Lacey, Yale, and Rainier for the period of January 1st, 2023 to December 31st, 2026. And Frankie is here to answer any particular questions.
Thank you. Frankie, anything you'd like to add?
Nope, well summarized by County Manager. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions.
Questions, Commissioner Menzer? Okay, I don't have any questions either. Item F from Emergency Services is private ambulance license renewal.
You also review this item, Commissioners, and for your consideration is this annual request for the board to consider the renewal of the license for the Olympic and AMR ambulance companies. Those 2 private companies provide services across the county under the Medic One leadership. This particular application has a $100 fee, thus has been already submitted. And this particular renewal is outlined in the County Code Chapter 6 that requires an annual review and an annual application process. This has been reviewed by the EMS Council, and the EMS Council is providing a recommendation for the board to approve this particular applications. Ben is not able to join us this morning, but Kurt is here to cover on his behalf.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions.
Questions, Commissioner Menzer? And when is Kurt officially transitioned?
Thank you. The news release, I was going to announce this afternoon, but that's a good time. A news release has been already issued this morning that we have hired the new Public Health and Social Services Director. His name is David Bain. And as you know, Kurt has been extremely helpful in carrying that department until we find a permanent director. So also Kurt has been very kind to help us on the transition. So his last day as an interim public health director will be the end of January. That will allow that transition and provide that information the new director will need. So I will highlight again this afternoon, but I'd like to extend my appreciation to you, Kurt. Really nothing but an incredible job to keep a very complex department afloat and continue to conduct the business to benefit the residents of Thurston County. So thank you so much, and I'm sure you're very happy to see a light at the end of the tunnel so you can go back to your day job as you know it. So.
Thank you.
And thank you, Kurt, for everything you did. You know, it wasn't supposed to be as long as it was. You know, I think you were probably like 2 months, 3 months, and then 6 months, and then 6 months turned into a year. But, you know, you kept that department afloat and, you know, went through some really, through some changes and went through the budget process. So really appreciate all the hard work. And I know you're probably excited to get back to emergency services.
Thank you. Yes, I'm excited to get back, but I appreciate all the staff in both departments helping me keep things moving along. And I've learned more about public health in the last year than I ever learned in my entire life. So I will just leave it at that. But it's been a great experience. It's been great.
Moving on to item G, which is for emergency services as well, and it's Emergency Medical Services Council bylaws.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. The EMS Council has gone through the process this year to recommend changes to their bylaws, and that's Article 5.1, and it really changes the terms of the officers from 1 year to 2 years. That provides a little more sustainability and flexibility on the appointed members. And for your consideration is to approve the changes to the Emergency Medical Services Council EMS bylaws. And again, this has been reviewed by the EMS Council, and the EMS Council has submitted a unanimous recommendation for the board to approve the bylaws.
Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions.
Questions, Commissioner Munzer?
No.
Okay, no questions for me. Moving on to item H from Human Resources, a resolution amending the Thurston County at-will pay plan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We reviewed this item with the board last week. There's a proposal to change the annual plan specifically related to recruitment efforts. And this proposal was to offer up to 15,000 sign-in bonus in a way, and that will be up to the offices and departments to cover within the existing budget allocation if we have the means to do so. We walked through this process last week. The board provided some feedback, and I believe the new language aligns to the board's direction last week. It creates a little more flexibility as to how the bonus should be placed, not necessarily on you may recall last week it was on a 24 pay periods, and this gives the flexibility as to how the bonus should be exercised. And it says, as part of the hiring authority must document the terms of the bonus amount, and the number of installments in the hire letter and provided to the HR director. Also, an employee who leaves employment in this position for any reason prior to receiving all installments of a hiring bonuses will not be entitled for the remaining hiring bonuses installments and will be informed as such in the hiring letter. So that creates, I believe, the flexibility the board provided direction last week, and Mary is here to answer any questions.
Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
Oftentimes when we're making changes, we end up with a red line copy, but I see this just didn't print red. Was that what the deal was?
Yeah, the underline is the changes.
What about the line through verbiage? There's several areas where it's lined through.
Yeah, all the line through is all the changes.
All the changes?
Yeah.
And the underline?
Yeah. Everything you see underlined and lined out is the changes.
And I've just got one question. On the first page, offers of employment. How's that supposed to read? The economic details of an employment offer, including starting salary and annual or alternative, or is that scratched out?
Where you're reading that, Commissioner, you can help.
About halfway down under offers of employment, under new appointment.
The and was removed,
Is that what it was? The
showing you that it was there, but now it's gone.
Yeah,
Got it? Okay, that's all,
Yeah,
that's a pretty simple
that's-
question. Thank you very much.
Strike out.
That's it, that's what I was wondering.
Okay, questions, Commissioner Menzer? Comments? No?
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item I, Public Health and Social Services, a resolution of classifying position 40R01030 in the Thurston County Pay Classification Pay Fund.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair, and the board voted this item last week. And this is one of the many steps the Department of Public Health has gone through the process to assess the needs of the financial services in that department. The board has created positions, the board has considered creating positions in the upcoming budget, and this is one of the elements of the overall strategy. So for your consideration is for you to reclassify that one full-time position from a grants and contracts analyst to a fiscal manager. This particular request will have an impact on the budget that goes from $7,879 per month to $8,455 per month. That will be an increase of $576, or just about 7% increase. As the board may recall, this most likely will be covered by the Foundation of Public Health, and there will not be an impact to the general fund. Curtis here to answer your questions.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions.
Questions, Commissioner Menzer? No questions. Okay, item J, Public Health and Social Services, appoint Northwest Resources to Criminal Justice Treatment Account Local Panel.
Follow up the direction from the board for your consideration is to appoint the Northwest Resources Incorporated to serve as the substance use disorder treatment provider on the Thurston County Criminal Justice Treatment Account, also known as the CJTA. You may recall when this item came to your attention, Carrie Hennon went through the process in looking at different outfits that can probably meet this particular appointment. And Carrie provided, I believe, 3 or 4 options. And the board decided to provide direction in the Northwest Resources Incorporated. So this is following up the direction the board has provided a couple of weeks ago. Carrie, would you like to add anything?
No, thanks. I think we've talked about this a few times. Thanks for the summary.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions.
Questions, Commissioner Menzer?
No.
Moving to item K from emergency, this is Public Health and Social Services. We need to change the department on there. COVID-19 response contract amendments.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is on your consent agenda because the reason of this is the 6 contracts that needs to be extended to December 31st, 2022. And the reason is those contracts are for us to actually send reimbursement to the state for us to get compensated. So those 6 contracts is with Birdside Medical Staffing, the Coastal Business Services, GRP, Olympia Ambulance, Pierce Security Guard, Favorite Healthcare Staffing, and United Way. And again, those are related to the COVID-19 continued pandemic response. And the reason that we need to extend those contracts to allow to really bill the state for the activities that we have already conducted. And the total amount that we'll be requesting to the state on the 6 contracts is just about $610,910.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
I do have a question on this, and that is in the description, which the public would see. Is there any reason those wouldn't be listed rather than just say 6 contracts? I mean, I don't know that it needs it or anything, it just seems like for openness, we'd name them.
We can certainly add the description.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
So let's add those contracts, Jimmy.
Just
Let's add the name of the
names
6
yeah.
contracts on the motion. Since that will not be read, that will be easier for the vice chair. But we'll list it, thank you, sir.
I just think it's worth
Appreciate it.
pointing out, thank you.
Okay, any questions for you, Commissioner Mensah? Okay. Moving on to department items. Items 4A and 4B from the auditor's office, approval of the voucher list for the week of November 7th and November 21st.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Items 4A and 4B. Item 4A, those are related to the voucher list. The reason they are in the department's item because the item for the November 7, 2022, which has a combined amount of $1,094,899.19, has atrium expenditures on page 20. In item 4B, that's for the voucher list for the week of November 21st, 2022, which has a combined amount of $1,381,640.27. And this particular voucher has atrium expenditures on page 13.
13?
13.3.
Okay, thank you.
Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions.
Questions, Commissioner Mensah? Okay, moving on to Commissioner's office. Item 5A, a resolution to join the Stepping Up Initiative.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You reviewed this item last week, and this has been a little bit of a long time coming. And this is a resolution for you to consider joining the Stepping Up Initiative to reduce the number of people within the mental illness in Thurston County Corrections facilities. This item was briefly discussed maybe 4 years ago, and at that point, we didn't have an individual who can help us to carry through and consolidate this particular effort. Now, Leo London, the Criminal Justice Regional Program Manager, is here to help us go through this process. And I believe this is a good item for the board to consider. As you heard last week from Leah, it will allow to access resources, not just at the regional level, the statewide level, but also at the national level. And that really brings a little bit of assertion that in fact Thurston County is stepping up in addressing this very complex and difficult issue in the law and justice system. Leah, anything to add?
Yes, thank you, County Manager. I would just add that again, I think this was mentioned last week, but there is no cost to join the Stepping Up Initiative. So I just want to make sure that is clear as well, but I'm very excited for you to consider this resolution today, and I'm happy to answer any additional questions you have.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
Yes, my only question would be that because of the term, which is maybe unique, I would just say this is similar to what we might call a mutual aid agreement. Is that correct?
In a way, yeah, because it will allow to get access to, initiatives and
Share
activities.
information.
Yeah, share information. Yeah, you can probably correct.
Okay,
this.
just for the public.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Mensah, questions?
No questions.
Okay, and no questions for me. Thank you. Next item, item 5C, 2023 property tax levy certification.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For your consideration is for you to certify the property tax levy. This particular action needs to occur before December 15 of every year. And you held a public hearing last week on December 6th, where you received public testimony. I don't believe we received any public testimony in this. And again, this is a yearly requirement for the board to consider. And we'll leave it up to Robin to
Can we
expand on
skip
this.
an item?
What?
Can we skip the
Oh, we did.
with
Olympia.
Oh, yes, we did.
Yes, we did. Thank
Maybe
you.
we can review 5C and then go back to 5E.
Yeah,
Right.
thank you for that.
So, the county manager pretty much covered it. This is the required certification to the county assessor, which we must do by the 15th. And then you have a separate action on Friday that you'll adopt to actually raise the levies, but be happy to answer any questions.
Commissioner Edwards, question.
This isn't the portion that we were gonna split out.
So they're related. This portion will have the increased dollar amounts certified to the assessor, so he's able to enter them into the tax roll. And then next week are the two motions that will actually increase. That's the authorization to increase the levy
Oh, okay, thank you.
This Friday, not next week.
on Friday.
Commissioner
Thank you,
Mensah.
not next week, yeah. Nothing next week.
Questions?
No.
I was also under the same impression as Commissioner Edwards because he wanted to be able to vote for one section of the resolution but not the other.
Correct, and that's the one that we'll do on Friday, or the two that we'll do on Friday. On Friday, we've separated the general fund from the other funds that receive the levy.
But how the action states here, it's moved to approve the resolution to certify the 2022 property tax levies for the general fund.
This
So this is for this year?
certifies the amounts that includes general fund, Medic One, Conservation Futures, and the roads levy.
Okay,
I'll make it work.
okay.
Yeah, certifies, yeah, thank you, certifies the amount and also
Right.
the certifying the levy process also includes the junior districts that we process separately from this every year. And we go through that and because it's requirement that every single school district, every junior district needs to submit their certified levy. And the clerk of the board process that, Robin and I tag team and certifying that portion of it. So this is your opportunity to certify that element of the levy. And again, Friday you will have two resolutions to consider as requested by Commissioner Edwards.
Okay. Next is item 5B, interlocal agreement between Thurston County and the City of Olympia.
Thank you. As you heard me last week, Commissioners, there's a little bit of a long time comment. This is related to the majority of the board taking an action to create the home fund early in the year. Within that resolution, you directed the county manager to take two actions among the many others. One, it was to work with the City of Olympia to have an interlocal agreement to bring the Olympia home fund into consolidated with the county's home fund. They will be part of the Regional Housing Council decision-making process in providing recommendations to the board as to how we spend those. So finally, we got to the point, there was a little bit of going back and forth for a little while on the language of this local agreement related to the representation of the subcommittees. That language has been agreed with the City of Olympia. I believe we're going to be taking an action in the next City Council meeting, the same, to approve this agreement. But also the next element in that resolution ordinance, you asked me to work with the Regional Housing Council to amend the interlocal agreement to incorporate all the regional home fund activities. That particular item is on the agenda, I believe, for the Regional Housing Council tomorrow, and we will be introducing the amendments to the interlocal agreement with the Regional Housing Council and the partners tomorrow afternoon, and that will complement the two elements you included on that.
Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
Yes, in that agreement, is there any language that would assist in prioritizing services to local individuals over latecomers?
Those agreements, this agreement with the Regional Housing Council does not get to the point of operational requirements. This is purely financial transactions they include in that agreement. So long answer to your question, no.
Thank you.
Questions, Commissioner Mensah?
No, I had a chance to review it.
Okay. Next is item 5D, resolution increasing the number of Thurston County Commissioners from 3 to 5.
This afternoon, I will provide a little more of a lengthy explanation, but this is, I believe, the last step in the process for now, for the board to consider approving the 5 commissioner redistricting. The board is approved, give the direction to increase the Thurston County Board of County Commissioners representation from 3 to 5, and they passed November election. The election was certified on November 29th with a majority proven moving forward in this direction. You held a public hearing last week where you received public testimony. The majority of the public testimony were in support of this. Not that many, it was probably a handful of public testimony you received. It was in support of this, the maps and the boundaries. There were a little bit of a difficult conversation, as you may recall, from the public related to a charter process and everything else that's outside of this particular item. This is for your consideration this afternoon. I believe the Port of Olympia Commission passed the same maps yesterday at their meeting. I need to confirm that. That was on their agenda to do the same. And if that is the case, with your action today, that will be submitted to the county auditor to begin the process of on setting up the elections for position number 4, and position number 5, and the general election in November of 2023. And the 2 new commissioners will take office January 1st, 2024.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
I guess my only question would be on this issue. Is there any problem with us taking this motion and the canvassing board being requested for a recount to certify? Does that affect any other elections other than that one certification? That's my only question.
I don't believe there is a nexus between that. As you may recall, one of the objectives of the redistricting for the 5 commissioners, including following the current precinct boundaries. So we didn't split any precincts, and we didn't split any congressional districts as well. So I don't believe there is a nexus to that.
I just hate to have somebody, complain that we voted on something before it was officially certified. That's my only question. I'm certainly for it, and I just.
Can I answer that? Because I'm on the canvassing board. The recount is specifically only for that congressional race. It does not include any other
Thank you.
races.
The rest has been certified.
Yeah, the rest has been certified.
Good enough, that's it. Thank you.
Question, Commissioner Munson?
No.
Okay. Moving on to central services, item 6A, extend landscape contract with Monarch Landscape Companies, Washington LLC.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You reviewed this item last week. As a matter of background, back in December 2019, the board authorized central services to conduct a competitive bid process and award the contract for landscape services to Northwest Landscape Services. And the initial term for this particular contract was between 2020 and 2022, which the current contract ends at the end of this month, December 31st, 2022. Within the contract allows for an additional extension for 2 years based on the performance of this particular landscape contractor. The staff is recommended for you to consider extending for another 2 years. Some of the activities include the courthouse campus, building 1 through 7, the employee parking, lots J and G, the family juvenile court and Thurston County Corrections Facility, CSA building, work release, coroner, emergency services, public health, and social services, the Tiller Road campus, and the Monument complex. And I believe Jason is here to answer the questions.
Yep, Jason.
Good morning. Yes, I'm here. I believe County Manager Chavez covered it well.
Please don't give me that promotion.
Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
I guess the only question I have is it's going over into another budget cycle. Is that okay?
It is included on the budget that you will be considering approving this Friday. So
And then to include going into,
Yeah.
we're gonna do a biannual budget again, I guess. That's all.
It is included in the overall financial plan that you have seen. So we're asking no to increase anything as part of the contract.
Okay.
Questions, Commissioner Menzer?
So what's the reason why we're extending rather than RFP?
Because the current contract, we went through a request for proposal, a bidding process. We
2 years
selected a
ago?
contractor 2 years ago. And the current contract allows for an extension.
Okay.
This particular outfit has been performing very well, and that is the reason as to why we recommended the board to exercise that clause in the contract to extend it for 2 years.
Okay.
Okay. I don't have any questions. Moving on to Community Planning and Economic Development, item 7A, contract authorization for Alliance for Healthy South Sound coordination.
And can you also review this item, Commissioner? This is somewhat of a pass-through. The county serves as a fiscal agent for the Alliance of Healthy South Sound, which recognizes by the Puget Sound Partnership Leadership Council as the local integrating organization for South Puget Sound. This particular contract has an amount of $375,000 for a period of 3 years, which is $125,000 per year. And Brad Murphy is here to answer any questions related to this item.
Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
Could you, I don't know, give a little more in-depth explanation of what we get with this expenditure and which fund it comes out of?
Yeah, this it doesn't come from the general fund. This fund is coming from the Alliance of Healthy South Sound, I believe. And their activities are related to the program coordinator related to the activities associated with the South Sound Puget Sound Leadership Council. That's what it is. And this organization doesn't have the fiduciary responsibilities to receive this money, so the county serves as the fiduciary responsibility to manage that contract. But Brad Murphy can probably give you a little more detail what activities is associated with this particular investment. Brad?
Good morning, Commissioners. Yes, Commissioner Edwards, the funds come from the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, so EPA provides funds to the Puget Sound Partnership, and the Puget Sound Partnership then distributes those funds to the local integrating organizations around the Puget Sound. So it's typically been an annual grant. PSP was hearing from the implementing organizations that it presented a lot of just to annually go through the process of re-upping these contracts were a little cumbersome, so they worked with EPA and got it to be now a 3-year contract. So that's the change. Is still the same money amount. It doesn't come out of general fund. This is all just essentially pass-through funds. And the secondary contract with the consultant, Ross Strategic, is to implement the program. So a lot of these funds, it pays for county staff to update and maintain the grant, provide staff time to go to meetings, and the rest of those funds then go to the consultant to provide funds for projects in South Sound, and also to they provide meeting coordination and organization and things like that.
Brad, would it go to like maybe a group like Stream Team?
It could. It goes to all different kinds of. It's not just salmon projects. There's prairie projects. It goes to a whole host of projects that are listed in the Puget Sound Action Agenda. So it's the guiding document, if you will, about looking for projects around Puget Sound to improve habitat for not only salmon, but for upland species. A lot of our ESA listed species are included. So it's a wide reaching group of projects that could receive funds for this. One of the most recent and successful projects was a kind of a septic haul out boat that went around to different smaller ports of call around Puget Sound to take septic from boaters that didn't have a haul out, there at their pier or their dock or whatever. So it started in Pierce County and is now expanded all of South Sound. So they take out boats during the week and go out and do that. There's shore friendly projects that are funded by this. There are a multitude of different types of projects that have received funds through these monies.
And could you classify those as pretty much all environmentally friendly actions?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Slightly off topic, but why is it that we can play this role for this organization, but we can't do the same for the Capital Lake Deschutes Estuary project, being a fiscal agent and handling these pass-through funds?
Because this is programmatic, and the Capital Lake, we don't own the asset.
What do we own here?
It's a programmatic. It's actually a program that it's not managing an asset. That is probably the difference between this and the Capital Lake Estuary.
You can't make us a manager?
No, well, we're TBD, but there's a difference of opinion about whether we can, and we have not gotten any legal opinion about it yet. I'm still waiting for that, by the way. The legal analysis that we expect about whether or not the county could play that role.
I believe Trump's provided a lot of perspective on the MOU of that. When we
That was
provided
just to get
feedback.
Okay, well, I didn't see the answers to those questions. That was really to get us to what we could sign at that moment without sort of having resolved the question. To me, it's still an open question.
Yeah, that will be a good conversation to have if the legislature approves funds for this particular project in the upcoming session. Yeah.
So when are we gonna have that conversation? Are we gonna wait until after the legislative session is over, or are we gonna have a conversation before?
So at this point, we have an MOU, and they
Yeah.
authorize approval.
Yes.
And the MOU was necessary for the state to submit that and request funding to the legislature. My suggestion is we should wait until what the legislature is going to do if they're gonna be allocating funding for this project. And at that point is where the conversation should occur, whether the county wants to take the risk to be the fiduciary financial responsible party for the overall project.
So follow up after the legislative session, okay. Any other questions, Commissioner Mensah?
No, I'm the representative on the executive committee of Alliance for Healthy South Sound, and it primarily relates to salmon recovery projects and trying to meet the recovery plan for the listed species of salmon.
Okay. Item 7B, interlocal agreement amendment for voluntary stewardship program.
Yeah, thank you. The board on June 22nd, 2021 approved a new local agreement with the Thurston Conservation District for a total amount of $150,000. The main purpose of that was to provide technical assistance and other monitoring work related to the voluntary stewardship program in Thurston County. We received the additional monies coming from the State Conservation Commission, and for just about a little bit, an additional $100,000, they will be available. So this particular amendment, no, it's an additional $251,000. My apologies, for a total contract amount of $401,162. So this amendment does two things: increases the dollar amount to $401,162 by $251,162 additional. And also extends the, I believe the performance of this contract goes through June 30th, 2023. Ashley is here to answer any particular questions.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions, thank you.
Questions, Commissioner Mensah?
No.
Any questions from, moving on to emergency services, item 8A, FFY 2022, agreement with the U.S. Department of Interior for operation and maintenance of river gauges.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a yearly item the board considers, and this is the approval of a joint funding agreement for water resources investigation with the U.S. Department of Interior, the U.S. Geological Survey. This is to continue to maintain and operate the stream flow discharge gauges located in the Deschutes and Escocumchac rivers. This is a partnership. It actually costs just about $29,725, which emergency services pay $15,116, and CPED pays $5,500. This is already included on the budget. And this particular request takes the performance of this contract through September 30, 2023. And as you may recall, when emergency services sends information related to potential rainstorms and significant events, and you have the projections of those two rivers, those gauges give us enough data to make those model calculations related to potential flooding on those two rivers. Kurt, would you like to add anything on this?
Kurt Harden, Director of Emergency Services. My apologies, but the numbers are off on the agenda in the AIS. However, the contract amount of the document in there is correct. So the updated numbers that I'm going to provide now, and I'll work with Jamie to correct the agenda, and this is on our end. But the actual total amount is $22,494, not $29,725. The split is $16,834 from emergency management to pay, and CPED pays $5,660. Again, my apologies. Everything else is accurate, the county manager said, but we made an error when we put the AS together.
Okay. Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions.
Questions, Commissioner Mensah? No. Okay, moving on to information technology, item 9A, contract with Avocet for the permit tracking system.
Long time coming, Commissioners. Finally, we get to this point. This has been, I believe, a number one priority for the board related to information technology projects. And this is to replace what we know the Amanda system. This is the permit traffic tracking system. The RFP was released in September 1st, 2021. We received close to 12 proposals, and it has taken this long to go through the negotiations with a particular vendor. We started negotiations with the number one vendor. Unfortunately, that did not materialize in the contract. We did not come to an agreement. And the fortunate thing for this process is that we have a very good, strong second vendor. And that's what you have for your consideration today, is for you to consider approving the contract with Avocet to permit the permitted tracking software. It has a total cost of 10-year, total cost of $5,838,427. There is going to be a yearly cost related to ongoing maintenance and operations. And the initial investment is already included on the fees and the IT replacement fund the board has approved, and the ongoing maintenance costs will eventually be part of the overall rate assessment and the upcoming future biennial budgets. Sherry's here to add additional perspective to this. I'm particularly very happy to come to this point and start replacing this outdated Amanda system in the department. And the director is here here in the room, if you have any questions for Josh as well.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
Is the dollar amount relatively the same as what we had talked about with the other vendor that didn't pan out?
It's just about the same. It was just the terms of the contract and the relationship with the number one just didn't work. I mean, I don't want to get too much in detail, but it was extremely difficult, this particular vendor. There was no flexibility because I believe in any contract. There's a give and take to find a balanced contract. It was one-sided conversation. It was just dragging for months until we made the decision to go with the second vendor, and here we are.
What's WSST, including current WSST in the district?
Washington State Sales Tax.
Okay. Okay, what, 500,000 a year or more?
Yeah, but I think in terms of the, I believe is the investment and also to return to the investment, we will see benefits to the residents of the county when they seek services related to any particular application, building application. It will be consolidated into a single hub. It will be public works, environmental health. It will be part of the single hub. It will provide an individual who applies just to track where their application, permit application is within the system. It will be a transactional via email. It also will be in person. But it really is going to give us the opportunity to come to the 21st century related to the permitting process.
And then we'll have a better opportunity to see if there's a particular area where there's a hangup or something that is continually taken.
Absolutely, and in any new system, there's always going to be an adjustment. What we know and the business needs, the team has been put together in which we selected this contractor is here, but also as we move forward in the implementation, there's always an opportunity to see where we can enhance the.
This is going to help get rid of that. We need a red rock today and a blue rock tomorrow.
Yes, sir, absolutely. It's going to be complementing the already process that Josh has implemented.
Got it. Thank you.
Questions, Commissioner Munzer? My question is just looking at this price tag, which is, it hurts. And being that our permit center runs as 100% recovery on fees, so does this mean that prices will go up? Since it's more efficient, will prices go down? What's going to be the result for the end user with this new system?
Yeah, that conversation really will occur next year when the fee study is completed. And we'll bring all those elements for your consideration. So at this point, I'm sorry.
I'm not asking kind of like a comparison. I'm just wondering with this new system, right, that we're implementing, will prices go up? Is there going to be a little bit more management that, just because under the system that we're operating right now, it's 100% recovery, fee recovery. And so I'm wondering since, is there going to be more staff work that has to go into this new system? So, does that mean that, fees will have to go up or people will be paying more for it? Or since the system will be so efficient that maybe it'll require less staff time and prices will go down?
Yeah, and I believe all that needs to be part of it. Again, I'm not in a position to answer that question specifically, whether they go up or down, because that's a legislative decision that you will take. You are the only one who can make the decision whether fees are going up or fees are going down.
But I think your question is, the fees were the same, is more time, and whatever fee we set is based on time.
Right.
Is it gonna be more time because the system's more complex with more inputs, or is it gonna be less time because there's efficiencies that the staff will be able to realize and reduce the number of billable hours, so to speak.
Well, I'm sorry, but I will not be able to commit to this. The overall umbrella is to create efficiencies. But if you ask me how many hours of efficiencies will be reduced or increased, I will not be able to tell you this at this point. Unfortunately, I'm not in the position to tell you that.
Does Josh know?
But certainly, the undertone is to create efficiencies within the implementation.
Joshua Cummings, Director of Community Planning and Economic Development. The county manager is right. We don't know exactly what's going to happen. The conversation, the holistic conversation about the fees going forward is a bigger one. What I do know is the price tag was a sticker shock to us as well, but it's the cost of these types of software. The service that we want to provide in terms of being able to have the transactions, being able to pay online, this is the cost of that. And so this is a long-term investment. I would say to your question, Commissioner Mejia, at first, when we're starting to ramp the system up in the next 2 years, it will require extra staff time. And so there will be definitely people invested in trying to get this up and running. It won't be directly reflected in the fees that people pay. So it's not one-to-one, but we will be targeting those efficiencies. And I think what I've learned in this process is that implementing a software system doesn't necessarily mean that it cut costs. It's not cheap to implement these software systems. But if we want the service that the commissioners and I believe all of us are trying to provide to our customers, this is the cost of doing business. And so the goal is that once we have the system implemented, that folks will be able to, as Commissioner Edwards said, track their permits. It will increase transparency. It will dovetail with the processes that we're putting in place to reduce that bring me another rock. But I don't think that it's a one-to-one, either up or down on the fees.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item 9B, it's renewal of annual maintenance for MSA.
So this is somewhat related to the previous item. And it's gonna take us a little while to implement the new system, the permit system. And this is an extension of the maintenance for the current Amanda system. So that will take us, hopefully this will be the last renewal of this particular system. And I'm hoping at that time we'll lapse the Amanda system and the new system will come online as we know.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
My only question would be is we're authorizing this for 2 years. Does that mean it's going to take 2 years to get the other system up and efficient and running?
I believe it's going to take a little while. Whether if we unfortunately we go by year the maintenance and operations agreements, and that's what is a 2 year because I mean you can approve for 1 year and we come back next year if we need it. That's certainly within your purview. But it's just giving us the latitude to have a fully implemented system.
And the other one, we're going to start paying $500,000 a year.
Yeah, that one will not be until after we implement the system.
So,
No, go
I just
ahead.
might clarify, because I'm this kind of same question. So this says 86,000 for up to 2 years. So that means that if we get everything squared away in a year, we're not obligated to pay the second year. The IT director can say we're done.
Sherry, can you clarify that?
Yes, that is correct. They asked us to sign a 3-year contract and we said, no, we would only sign for an additional year. And so we created the AIS for 2 years just in case.
But you can cut it off after 1 year if we don't.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
That was I didn't do very good articulating my question.
Well, no, it's a good question, because I mean, I'm hoping we won't need 2 years of that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you both for those questions. Okay, 9C, renewal of annual maintenance for Fortinet network hardware.
This is similar to your previous item, Commissioners. This is for your consideration to authorize the renewal of the maintenance for the Fortinet for $77,518 per year for up to 5 years. This particular software we use for on the network connectivity, email quarantine, and firewalls. This is already included on the IT budget, and this is just for your consideration, the renewal of this maintenance agreement.
Question, Commissioner Edwards.
Why having all these on one day are giving me heartburn, that's all.
That's the last meeting of the year. I hear you.
Okay. No more questions, thank you.
Commissioner Munson. Yeah. Okay, on this, and then the renewal of annual maintenance for Gov QA.
To continue that conversation. If I may, this is for your consideration to extend the maintenance agreement with Gov QA. And this particular software we use to track the request for public records. This has been very useful, as you know, and we have a significant number of public records that we process on a daily basis. This has an amount of $51,060.31, and per year for up to 5 years. Sure, he'll transfer any questions. And everything is included already on the IT budget and fees.
And we've got this all budgeted out.
It is.
Ahead of time. Okay, thank you. No more questions.
Questions? Okay, moving on to Public Health and Social Services, item 10A, approval of amendment number 9 to the Washington State Department of Health 2022 through 2024 consolidated contract.
So the next 4 item, Commissioners, you have not been able to read. Those are new items that I give you a heads up. They will be coming your way today. So item 10A is related to the consolidated contract. And as you may recall, the board approved the overall umbrella contract back in January 11, 2022. And through the year, you have authorized amendment to this particular contract up to number 8. And every single amendment brings additional money to the Department of Public Health and Social Services with the specific scopes of work that each amendment includes. So amendment number 9 for your consideration today increases the total amount of increases by $1,090,559 for a total amount of $12,091,576. The particular scope of work for this amendment includes the continue the COVID-19 response, as well as the Executive Office of Resilience and Health Security. And again, this is money to continue to fund the operations of the programs within public health and social services. Kurt?
Good morning, Commissioners. Kurt Hardening, I'm Director of Public Health and Social Services. County Manager gave a good summary, and I'm available to answer your questions.
Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
I do have a question on this. It's kind of to Robin, I think, though. At 9 o'clock, we had a meeting covering extra money that was coming in and adjusting an amendment. Is that already included? Did we just do that this morning? And this extra $1 million, was that part of that additional revenue that we tried to fit into the budget on part of that $23 million?
So I don't know if this particular contract was included. I would have to look.
Okay, well, okay, that, I don't think I need to know that, but are we covered by what we did an hour ago?
I think you're covered by both what you did an hour ago, what you're about to do on Friday.
Okay,
Okay.
I just want to make sure we get it right, that's all. Don't get out of sequence if we didn't, that's.
No,
my only
there's
concern.
sufficient appropriation authority in public health to cover this contract.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have Commissioner Munson questions?
No.
Okay. Moving on to item C, amend consolidated homeless grant agreement with the Washington State Department of Commerce to add funding for eviction prevention rent assistance funding.
This is an interesting process. The additional money brings up different amendments. That's how the state works. This is amendment number 10. In my mind, I said, why we don't have a single amendment to consolidate both funds? But the answer to that question is each amendment has a specific scopes of work. And that is probably makes why we need to bring different amendments for you to consider. So in this particular amendment is for an additional $241,419. And then the total dollar amount for the contract itself is $12,331,995. And this really amends the scope of work that was approved in a previous allocation related to the COVID-19 response.
Questions, Commissioner
No.
Owens? Questions, Commissioner Menzer? Okay, item D, approval of the eviction prevention
I
mechanism.
think county manager said B. Didn't you just talk about B?
Yes, I just touched B and
So we need to do C.
C.
Okay,
I touched base on amendment number 9, which is A, and then number 10, amendment number 10, which is B.
okay,
The chair was on D, so somehow we had to catch C.
Oh, I'm sorry.
yeah,
That's okay, I
No.
think you skipped C,
no, I
you
went to
skipped
C.
from A to C, but then county manager hit B,
Okay,
so you just need to do C.
that's the one we just did, isn't it? The
We
amend
did,
consolidated homeless grant agreement with Washington State Department of Commerce to have funding for eviction
No,
prevention.
we did B, which is the amendment number 10
Okay,
for the CONCOM. My apologies.
okay. So item C, amend consolidated homeless grant agreement with Washington State Department of Commerce to have funding for eviction prevention rent assistance funding.
So items C and D are related. And this particular item is related to funding. They came through the legislature when they added House Bill 1277, which increased the document recording fees. So you may recall the conversation early in the year was the Department of Commerce released a portion of the revenues that are documented of the document recording fees. They made it available to counties as to how we can apply for that particular first installment. The rest of the installment is going to be, I believe, a direct allocation to the county without having to go through this process. So this particular first process brings $2,471,031 for eviction prevention here in Thurston County. The Regional Housing Council went through the process of request for proposals. So item D is the next step to award those contracts to those selected individuals. So what has taken a little bit of time is we applied for this, access the money. They gave us the authorization for $2,471,031. The Regional Housing Council went through request for proposals. We selected the contractors. They can probably be awarded those contracts. That strategy needed to be sent back to the Department of Commerce for approval. We just got that approval. So this is just the administrative process to secure the money from the state. That's item C, and to award the contracts in item D to the Partners for Prevention and Education PIPE for $1,175,000, Family Support Center for $875,000, and Community Youth Services for $300,000. So I just covered both items, C and D, if I may.
Thank you.
And Tom is here to walk us through in more detail.
Questions? Commissioner Edwards?
Are we, as a general rule, selected by Department of Commerce because we get it right and we make our expenditures add up and we get it accomplished and they have extra money? And
So this is a little bit different to what the board approved, maybe the last meeting we had, is where related to the rental assistance.
yeah,
The rental assistance, the Department of Commerce made available across the state We have been very successful and diligent to distribute those funds. Other jurisdictions across the state have not. So the money came back. They saw Thurston County as an opportunity to continue to distribute the rental assistance, which we have done. And this is a little bit different. This is an ongoing funding that may be coming to the county. And the first installment, again, from the Department of Commerce as a result of House Bill 1277 is for us to apply. And this is the process we have gone through. That makes sense?
Yeah, but you said may be coming, and that bothers me because maybe
Yeah,
not.
maybe coming because I don't know the amount. They may be coming in the long term. Do you know the amount more or less that might be coming for the remainder of the 1277, Tom?
So this is the final installment for this legislative year through June of 2023. So based on collections, we will get a new allocation sometime in 2023. Probably we'll find out a final number May, June timeframe for future, and that's based on document recording fees. So that amount does fluctuate based on document recording fees. So it's hard to predict. But this is based on an allocation formula. So this money is amount that a sense is entitled, the county is entitled to these funds as the first cut. So it's not based on performance. However, as the county manager indicated, if other counties are unable to spend all those dollars, the state reallocates those. There's a potential we could receive additional dollars down the road. But this is the allocation that the county is in a sense entitled to based on how much the state has collected in revenue.
Okay, and then just one real quick follow-up question. Are we getting our billings sent in a timely fashion now? We were running late, and we, I think, added a few folks to make sure that we were timely. Yeah,
claim our money from the state.
To make sure that we get adequate compensation back for our expenditure.
So we're filling those positions now. We're going through the recruiting process, which is why we asked for the positions prior to the budget being passed, so that we could be moving them along. I believe that they've gone through the interview process for those positions and are filling them, and then we'll be able to get caught up. They are doing their best to stay on top with the staff that they currently have.
Okay, and thank you to the board for their support.
Yes.
Really, I really appreciate it. And in fact, this afternoon you have an item as part of the overall plan related to the needs the public health has. So I really appreciate your support on that. It's what we needed.
Questions, Commissioner Mensah?
No.
Okay, it is 10:49. We have a couple more items to review, and then we have the Board of Health, but just the executive session is set to last approximately 20 minutes, so we could go through the next items a little bit more quickly. For Public Works is item 11A, resolution and call for sealed bids for steel bridge fabrication for Thompson Creek Road Southeast at Thompson Creek Fish Passage Project.
Yeah, you reviewed this item last week, Commissioners, and this is as part of the overall yearly strategy that Public Works implements to go ahead and issue a request for proposals, a bid process to secure the services of prefabricated bridge related to the fish barrier removal program. I'll stop there.
Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
I already asked that earlier. Can't get a railroad car, right?
Probably not, Commissioner.
Boy, it'd save a lot of money. Logging companies do it all the time, but okay.
Questions, Commissioner Mensah? Okay, moving on to 11B, set a public hearing to hear objections to the proposed goal of rates and charges for the Patterson Lake Management District number 23.
Yeah, Commissioners, this is the next step in the process related to the formation of the Patterson Lake Management District. And this is for you to consider setting a public hearing for January 10th, 2023 at 3:30 in the afternoon in the new location that will be room 110 of the atrium, 3000 Pacific Avenue, for you to receive public testimony related to the rates and charges associated with this particular effort.
Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions, thank you.
Questions, Commissioner Mensah?
No.
Okay. With that, we'll have our standing items. We have a public hearing at 3:30 where I will be pausing our regular agenda to move on to the public hearing, which is ordinance for adoption of A-22 boundary line adjustment.
Yeah, this is an item the board has reviewed in the past. You have received recommendations from the planning commission. And this is perhaps the last step in the process for you to receive public testimony. And for your consideration is the second motion for you to approve this particular proposal. But certainly, depending on the public testimony, if the board doesn't feel comfortable in going ahead and approving, then we'll schedule a follow-up briefing in the next date for an action.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions.
Questions, Commissioner Mensah? Okay, that will conclude our Board of County Commissioners draft agenda for our meeting of December 13th. Next on the agenda is review of Board of Health draft agenda for the meeting of December 13th, 2022, and I'm passing this to the chair.
Okay, we'll call our meeting to order at 4:30 or as soon thereafter as possible based on the other items we have this afternoon. We'll consider approval of agenda, and there are no meeting minutes, looks like. Okay. We'll have opportunity for the public to address the Board of Health. And the first item will be foundational public health funding. Kurt, why don't you give us a summary?
Sure. Kurt Harden, Interim Director of Public Health and Social Services. We will be presenting the placeholder that's in the midterm budget for the Board of Health to make recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners regarding where that foundational public health funding should go. We will have staff recommendations that will be part of that presentation. And then also we have some background on foundational public health in there as well to give some background to the new members of the Board of Health.
Board member questions?
No questions.
And then you're going to lay out some kind of process for recommendations.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Next item is the Squally Reach Septic System Monitoring Program Review and Reenactment. Art Starry, Environmental Health Division Director.
Good morning again, and I'm Art Starry, as Commissioner Mensah indicated. And this is an item that we're going to be providing some information on the history of the Nisqually Reach Watershed Protection Area. And that's a special septic system monitoring and maintenance program that was established about 11 years ago, or excuse me, 9 years ago, in response to shellfish downgrades. And so the program is due to terminate at the end of 2023 unless it's reenacted by the board. So we want to be the Board of Health and the Board of County Commissioners actually. And so we want to review the program history briefly with the Board of Health, talk a bit about the program goals and objectives, provide some information on how successful it's been, and then talk about how we plan to move forward in the coming year to review the program with the public and develop recommendations for the Board of Health and the Board of County Commissioners for reenactment before the end of 2023, if that's their wish. So that's it in a nutshell. Jane Mountjoy Venning will be doing most of the presentation, but we also have, I'll be there along with some other staff to assist.
Board member Medina? Questions? Edwards?
Are we gonna take a vote on that today at the Board of Health on the continuation of that program?
No, you will not be asked to take a vote. That we're just basically reviewing things quickly with you and telling you what we plan to do in the coming year to provide options for you to consider whether you want to reenact it next year.
And Art, could you remind me again, we reauthorized, I don't know, one sometime back, was that Nisqually Reach? Or?
That was, that was Henderson Inlet. So Henderson Inlet is the watershed right next door. It also had shellfish harvesting downgrades in 2001. After working with the community, we developed with the community a program that was enacted in Henderson a few years before the one that started in Nisqually. and it was used as a pilot then for the development of a program in the Nisqually Reach area. So you reviewed and reenacted the Henderson program a few years ago, and so now it's Nisqually's time is up, and so we're bringing that one to you for consideration, or we'll be bringing that to you for consideration in 2023.
And that seems to have been successful, the one that we re-upped. I mean, it's continuation and been beneficial.
Yes, Henderson, based on what we were attempting to do, the program was very successful. It was documented by Department of Ecology and others as far as how well it worked, and the Nisqually program has had similar levels of success. And so we want to, again, review that with you, and again, not receive specific recommendations today, but just to give you some, as the Board of Health, some information on that and tell you how we are planning to move forward in 2023 to develop a recommendation or a final proposal for you to consider for reenactment, sometime towards the end of next year.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Art. Let's go to item 5. Opioid settlement overview and Thurston County opioid response plan presentation. Marianne O'Gara is listed, although I don't see her up there. So Kurt?
Yeah, Kurt, I'll step in for Marianne. She's had some required training this morning, but she will be there this afternoon to do a presentation, and Katie Strozik is here as well to answer any questions. But this is where we're going to do 2 pieces. One, we're going to have the opioid settlement overview that's going to be presented to the members of the Board of Health. We have a representative from the prosecuting attorney's office coming in to do that and present that information. And then the other piece of this is that we're going to have the opioid response plan, where we're going to give a presentation to the members of the Board of Health for that, so that the recommendation will be is to extend the opioid response plan by 1 year. So that allows us to keep the plan current, which is currently scheduled to expire December 31st of this year. It'll keep it current and keep us eligible for any opioid response or opioid settlements that come down. And so, Katie, let me know if I missed anything or if you have anything else to add.
Nope, you pretty much covered it. The person who will be joining us tonight is David Coe from Keller Roebuck as well.
Any questions from the board?
No.
I thought we were going to cover some fentanyl issues at this time. Is that not right, or is that the next meeting?
That's going to be a different meeting, Commissioner, because the fentanyl issue is very complex.
Okay.
And we already have a number of items that are going to take some time, but we want to make sure we delve into the fentanyl issue and give it its justice for as far as how much time it takes and bringing in the appropriate people.
Okay, thank you.
County Manager?
Thank you. We received notice that we would be getting the first deposit for related to the open settlement. There is a lot of restriction as to how we need to spend the money. That may not be part of this afternoon's presentation. That is something that I need to work with the new director as to how we can probably set the right structure to meet the requirements of the expenditure. So it's more to come on that next year, Commissioners, related to how we're going to be moving forward. So just want to give you a heads up.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Katie. Next item is Amendment 5 to Lewis County contract for purchase of Nurse Family Partnership Health Services. Gretchen Toller, our Maternal Child Health Division Director at PHSS. Gretchen.
Good morning, Commissioners. Yes, Gretchen Toller with Public Health and Social Services, and this is Amendment 5 with our contract or to a contract with Lewis County Public Health for the purchase of Nurse Family Partnership Services. So we have 2 nurses that are funded under this contract for a total amount of $320,962 to serve 50 families down in Lewis County. And we have been doing this piece of work since 2018 when we regionalized with them.
Questions from the board?
No questions, but just a comment for Gretchen. I think this is sometimes the reason we've gotten chosen for these specific grants is because of the regional approach that we've taken. And this right here, it's one of the reasons that we've been considered for grants by DCYF. So thank you, Kristen, for all of your hard work on this and you know, having this regional approach.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
No question, Gretchen does a good job.
Okay, very good. We will then have our health officer's report from Dr. Abdulmalik, and we will adjourn. Kurt, anything more needs to be said before we close this out?
Just a reminder that our infectious disease update will be part of the public health officer's report. I'll give some of that. She'll give some of that. That'll be part of her public health report.
Very good, thank you. Back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Okay, let's get through the next items really quickly. Proclamations and awards and advisory boards and commissions. And I'll pass it to JB Caldwell, our clerk of the board.
Good morning. So I have no updates for the proclamations and awards. For the boards and commissions, I did actually hear back. So for the boards and commissions, I did hear back from the agritourism advisory staff contact, and some of the information on our site was incorrect. It is supposed to be a 2-year appointment, so I will get that updated on our break here so that it reflects correctly. I didn't receive any new applications. The standing applications that have been included for your review. I did let the Agricultural Advisory Committee know that the board does plan to make an appointment recommendation come January if we haven't received another application for the person they're trying to recruit. I included some updated information for your review about the current use advisory committee. Apparently, they had a full committee prior to COVID, and it was essentially disbanded when COVID hit. Due to the social distancing, they didn't do any meetings. They reached out to the members last year asking if they were still interested in serving, and none opted to continue. So the assessor's office had sent out generic letters to county residents requesting volunteers, which is where those applications came from. I reached out a few weeks back because those applications were received at the end of December last year, beginning of January this year. And the ones that are in your packet are the residents that responded with interest in serving on that committee.
Looks like these ones are 1-year terms,
Yes.
according to the code.
Okay. So with that, it seems that, do we need more time on those applications? Feedback?
No,
There's 5 spots and 5 people.
Yeah. So are these all the applications they received, and?
They received more, and but because there was such a delay from when they sent them into Amy last year, or at the end of last year, beginning of this one, I reached out to check and see if they were still interested, because I didn't want the board to go and appoint somebody that no longer had interest or the capability to serve. And the ones you have are the ones that did respond saying they still had interest in serving.
Okay. So there are 5 applications and there are 5 appointments available. Do you want to, are they,
Believe they meet at the beginning of next year, in like the early part of the year. I wanna say, I don't know if they meet in January, but I know that they meet like relatively early on in the year.
so just being how our agenda, it would go on to the advisory, but we already have. Do you want to wait until January 10th to appoint these ones? Or do you want to go ahead and move for it today?
If you do today, they go under consent, so it just be a sweeping motion for those.
County Manager, you have a suggestion?
Might as well just by the bill, I mean, item to today's agenda.
Okay.
If the board is in concurrence with those appointments, and I will highlight what the changes are this afternoon briefly.
Okay.
how brief can you be? I mean, we're gonna have quite a meeting.
Yeah, you know, under normal circumstances, what I try to do is when you have consent items that you consider in the morning, then you change it in the afternoon. I just highlight the changes briefly.
Okay.
I will try to be as brief as I can. Okay, so then these items, the current use advisory committee, Christy Kriegsman, Jeff Van Lera, Joseph Debu, and I just butchered all of their names and I apologize. Kevin Cornell and Robert Oberman will be on today's consent agenda. for appointment for a one-year term. Okay, with that, moving on to, is there anything else, June, that we should, okay. PIL check-in. Megan?
Good morning, Commissioners. Megan Porter, Public Information Supervisor. I have no updates this morning.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Megan? Commissioner Edwards?
No questions.
Commissioner Menzer? Legislative update?
Just a brief update, I met up with Deborah Mangia yesterday, going through, so you will be seeing on your calendars specific meetings, in the short meetings with the legislative delegation to present our legislative agenda for next year. And also I explored with Deborah yesterday whether there's an opportunity to ask for a couple of requests for the elections building at Monmouth. So I'm working on that. Whether that materializes or not, I'll be working with Robin. If there's an opportunity to submit an application for a couple requests for legislative process. We're looking for options. So just want to let you know, I'm working on that.
Okay. Questions on that?
No questions.
Okay. Briefing, public hearing decisions pending. There's nothing. It is 11:07. We'll go ahead and go into executive session per RCW 42.30.110 subsection 1I to discuss with legal counsel representing the agency's litigation or potential litigation to which the agency, the governing body, or a member acting in an official capacity is or is likely to become a party when public knowledge regarding the discussion is likely to result in an adverse legal or financial consequence to the agency. State of Justin Schaefer and Radcliffe. And this will take approximately 20 minutes. So with that, it's 11:07.
Give us just a minute. Hey, Art, can you log out of the Zoom, please?
We are back from executive session. It is 11:48 a.m. We were in executive session for RCW 42.30.110 subsection 1I to discuss with legal counsel representing the agency litigation or potential litigation to which the agency, the governing body, or a member acting in an official capacity is or is likely to become a party when public knowledge regarding the discussion is likely to result in an adverse legal or financial consequence to the agency. The state of Justin, Schaefer, and Ratcliffe. No decisions after executive session. With that, it is 11:49. We are adjourned. Thank you all.
Okay.